How much more proof do you need to show that Democrats cannot govern? All they know is handouts. All they know is raising taxes. This is their policy for everything. And it's not working. It doesn't help people. And we're going to play a clip from Fox Business where they talk about what's going on out here in Chicago, and their cash giveaway as the city crumbles. But before we get started, go ahead and hit that like button, share this out so we can get this information out there. Subscribe if you're not already a subscriber, and hit that alarm bell so you know when I'm putting out new stuff. Also, check out my link tree in the description. There you'll find a link to my Patreon. That's where I talk about things that I can't talk about here. There's also a link to my Instagram and my X account, so follow me there as well. All right. So let's get right to the clip here. Here we go.
It is time for the hot topic of the hour. One of the country's largest counties now securing a universal basic income program where low-income households are guaranteed monthly payments. Fox Business's Kelly Saberi is live from Chicago, where this program is unfolding after a lot of public discourse over this decision. Kelly.
Good morning, Cheryl. This is what we know so far. $7.5 million will go towards this program, but who qualifies, how much the payments will be, and what recipients can spend this money on are still up in the air. The group Economic Security Illinois says almost all of the participants use these payments of Cook County's 2022 pilot program for their basic necessities. Cook County once had the nation's largest such program, using money from the American Rescue Plan Act. For 2 years, monthly payments of $500 were given to 3,250 households, no strings attached. 56% of those in the program were employed with an average income of $21,000. Now, 94% of recipients said the money went to emergency expenses, while an Illinois think tank says that they don't believe this expense, or excuse me, that this money for these people is not worth the expense to Illinois taxpayers. Listen to this.
There are over 700,000 individuals in Cook County who are below the federal poverty line. If you extended it to every individual at current program rates, that would cost over $4 billion.
We're told the county's Bureau of Economic Development will have some of the answers to our questions by mid to late 2026. Cheryl, back to you.
Kelly Saberi, thank you so much. A lot to unpack there from this. And, you know, to be clear, what they're talking about here is with this guaranteed basic income is there's no requirement. Which is different from universal income, which goes to everybody. But we've seen this in Los Angeles, Chicago, where we just came from, Denver, San Francisco, Houston. You know, many critics say this is nothing more than an extension of welfare benefits, and that you disenfranchise people from going out and seeking meaningful employment. It is not, it's a handout, not a hand up.
Exactly.
That's exactly what it is. And it's their way of making a permanent voting class because they have to depend on government, so they're going to vote Democrat. It's a scheme. They really don't care about helping people, because if they really cared about helping people, they will help them find meaningful work. People want to work. People get something out of it, a sense of community and things like that from working. Handouts make you dependent on government. We've seen that when the Democrats shut down the government and there were no SNAP payments and people were struggling and crying in the streets and stuff like that because they didn't know how they were going to feed their families and stuff. This is what happens when you're dependent on government, and this is what they want. They want you dependent on them. Democrats, I should say, want you dependent on them.
And this is exactly the progressive strategy, is they'll put something out there that makes you dependent on the government, and then they'll go back and say, well, why would you possibly oppose giving poor people money, right? Mm-hmm. They frame it this perfect way. They do the same thing covering up socialism on all sorts of issues. I mean, you look at the Green New Deal, which I refer to as watermelon policy, where it's green on the outside and it's red on the inside, because it's really just socialism. But they go back and they say, how could you possibly go against protecting the environment? Meanwhile, it's easier to build things in America that are cleaner and better better than the Chinese that, you know, conveniently these folks don't talk about. But that's how they continue to cover up their socialist goals, is by framing it in the most positive way possible.
That it's humane,
right.
and there's something wrong with you if you don't agree.
Yeah,
Right.
exactly.
Yeah.
And then hiding the fact that it makes people dependent, which is as inhumane as it gets.
But that is unfortunately whether it's SNAP or it's welfare assistance or it's housing assistance. I mean, that's what ends up happening in many of these instances. And sometimes you end up with these nonprofits that come in and you've got fraudulent activity, and next thing you know, you've got a corruption investigation.
Exactly.
Looking at you, New York City. Sorry, but and that's again another criticism when cities are already strapped.
Well,
and I'm sorry, but I don't think the fiscal house in Chicago is exactly
not going great.
solid right now.
Well, exactly. There is a $1.2 billion deficit in the city of Chicago. And so Cook County, which is the county that's proposing this universal income solution, well, guess what? Guess where Chicago is? Cook County. So where's the money going to come from? My guess, they're going to try to put more taxes on the wealthy or on businesses, which is why so many businesses have left and why so many of the wealthy have left. And they've gone north. They've gone to up the lake to places like Kenilworth and Winnetka and Lake Forest, et cetera. And those towns now are incredibly red and very conservative because all of the money has left the old Gold Coast of Chicago, which is gorgeous. I mean, you know, you can go up Park Avenue just right that way and see beautiful elegant old co-ops. Well, guess what? Go to Chicago along the Gold Coast and it's exactly the same thing. The problem is they're now trading at a fraction of the New York City prices because they're being sold. Everyone wants to get out because get out while you still can. The taxes are so high.
What do you make about the concerns about inflation, Adam? Because many economists say when you look at different programs like this, whether it's universal basic income or it's targeted, that it actually ends up raising prices in these communities.
Well, I mean, yes and no. Anytime you give people money, that is stimulus. And whether it's welfare or whether it's PPP checks that came out during COVID, if you're giving people money, they are going to spend it. But if we're talking about a program that, at least at this stage, sounds very small, and it's going to a small number of people who are strapped and probably not able to spend a whole lot of money, I'm not sure that it's really going to have an inflationary effect.
And maybe that criticism is because, but again, this goes back to, you know, the fact that these are these progressive policies that we are seeing in many blue cities.
Yeah, and those kind of things are going to antagonize the people that they're eventually going to need help from when they run out of money. And so eventually when they run out of this, you're going to get the, you know, drop dead New York, drop dead Chicago headline.
Well, that's the problem with socialism. Eventually you run out of other people's money.
Thank you, Margaret Thatcher.
Thank you, Margaret Thatcher. I was just about to, my favorite line, socialism is great until you run out of everybody.
That's right. That's just the quote I say all the time. Sooner or later, you run out of other people's money, and then what you do? And it kills incentive too. It kills incentive. If you are waiting on the government to hand you money, that doesn't incentivize you to go out and create and to do and to build, which is what we're supposed to do, especially as men. We're supposed to build. We're supposed to work. It's wild watching grown men online crying, talking about they can't feed their families because they're dependent on government. That is a crazy, crazy thing to see. But y'all let me know what y'all think about this. Leave your comments down below. Like, share, and subscribe, and check out jjthepsychotherapist.com for the latest in news. Until next time, peace.